And Rafa's fine, right?
Yeah, Raffa's fine.
Okay. Do you mind if I record this conversation and share it online?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
okay with you? All right, cool. So we'll start in three, two, one. Hey, Rafa, how you doing?
Good, man. How's it going?
Not bad, man. A little tired, but I'm good. You know, the weekend's almost here, so get to have a little bit of time off.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I think we all need it right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. My son has had like cold symptoms, like he has a runny nose and stuff like that. So he's been a little bit miserable, but hopefully
Yeah,
he's coming around the end there, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well, as long as you're not miserable, we're good, right? That's what.
Exactly. As long as I'm happy, then everybody's happy.
That's good, man.
But yeah, man, I'm glad that you're joining me to have this conversation. It was cool to see that you responded to that YouTube clip that I put up, and I'm very interested in having that real estate conversation too, and kind of see how you got into it and what your portfolio looks like and what your plans are. But even before we get into all of that, can we get to know Rafa a little bit? Do you mind telling me like what your childhood was like growing up? Were you always in California or?
Yeah, pretty much the majority of it was in California. So both my parents are from Mexico, and they came here, I believe, in the 70s. And, we didn't grow up poor. My dad was just a very frugal person. So I'm talking about frugal, like to the point where like every penny counts, you know? So since we weren't poor, but we definitely grew up where it was a struggle, where everything was like, secondhand. We never really got what we wanted, It was like, if you wanted to, I remember when I was like, I think I was 6 and I wanted a chrome bike. And, obviously everything was secondhand, there's nothing like, but I remember back then it was like the GT or the Dyno back in the day.
Yeah.
And all the kids, and I never had it, but I had the one that was just beat up and stuff like that. But other than that, it was good though. I think it builds up character, builds up drive, and it definitely makes you want more. So
How did that affect you? I've always myself have been like a saver. I've always saved money, and
right.
my parents at some point they would give us a quote unquote allowance, but the allowance was like a couple of bucks a week or something like that, very minimal. So I would save all this, as much as I could, and then I would, purchase whatever I could find. But I remember that my parents are kind of similar in that way. They didn't splurge on like restaurants all the time and things like that. We had a lot of like home cooked meals, and every once in a while we'd like go out somewhere, and it wasn't even like a restaurant. We'd do like a Chinese buffet or something like that.
Yeah. Same thing with us. Yeah. Definitely the same.
So growing up, you mentioned that your dad was frugal. Was your mom, were they both on the same page? Or
Yeah, my mom's a little more of a spender, but my dad definitely tried to stretch every dollar. So she definitely got on. They were both on the same page. You could just see that my mom would like to have a better life, but
Mhm.
but yeah, they were definitely both on the same page. So it was like I said, it was a good thing. Like you mentioned, I was also naturally a saver too. So I remember my like primera comunión or fucking my birthday, I would save all that money, and if they give me a 20, I would ask my dad for like ones because I wanted stacks of money,
Ah.
So I would put it all in my like just stacks. And I remember I forgot which movie I watched, and I remember I wanted to get like a briefcase, and I was one of my goals when I was like, I don't know, I was probably like 7 years old, was to fill up that briefcase with a bunch of ones.
Really?
Yeah, but I never got to it. I actually had like a stack of like ones, like just one little corner, and then forgot about it. But that was pretty much it.
You could fulfill your childhood dream right now. You could probably go to the bank, change a
I
couple
thought
of
about
hundreds.
that. Yeah. I should probably do it now, and just have it on the side.
Now, are you an only child, or are there more of you?
No, so there's a total of 5, including myself. So I got an older brother, and his name is Caesar, and then my other brother is Hernani, then a sister, myself, and my youngest brother Noel, and he's 32. So.
All right. So you're like in the middle.
Yeah, like I'm the stepchild, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Wow, 5 kids, man. That's
It's a struggle, man. I don't know how they do it. You know, I have 2, and I'm just like, man, it's just. But it was different times, though. You know, they have mentalities from back in the days where, you know, they just pop kids just to pop them. You know, now if you, you know, it's a lot of energy to raise a kid.
Yeah. You planning to have more? Or you're just gonna stick with the 2?
You know, I really want to. I have 2 boys, and I really want a girl, but I'm pretty much done, I think. Yeah.
Nah, man, go for at least one more. Go for one more. See, my wife and I, I'm one of 3, and it's just her and her sister. But my dad is one of, I think, I want to say 9, and my mom is like one of 7. So growing up, like I just had a ton of cousins all around, and we'd always like play outside and you know, get together. So my wife and I have always wanted like a bigger family. We wanted 4. We have 1, by the way. And we've settled on 3. So we'll see how the 3rd one goes, and we'll see if we'll do any more. But
wait, but you have 1, right? Yeah,
just 1 right now. We're
all right. When you have the second one, you're probably gonna settle for 2.
Oh, you think so? We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. That's cool. That's interesting, man. I think you're the first one that I've ever heard that. Like as a kid, you were taking piles of cash and just having them in one. So what I did with my cash is that man, I forget what those things are called, but it's like that ceiling that you can move. It's like they're like panels, so you can move like. So anyways,
you can move those panels. Okay.
Yeah, the panel ones that are kind of like card. It's not cardboard, but it's like.
But it's common over there on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Okay. See, we have those panels, but it's they usually use them for mobile homes.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, you see them in offices a lot too here. Yeah.
But here it's just plywood and drywall.
Yeah, I would take my cash, right? I would have like a little bag or something, and then I would hide it like on top somewhere, so like nobody would find it. And that was like where I kept my stash.
Yeah, I think that's when you're like naturally born a saver or entrepreneur, I think, because you're always thinking ahead, I think. Because I have my brother, the youngest one, you know, he grew up the same as us, you know, but he's naturally not a saver, naturally not an investor. Like my brother Hernani invests, my sister invests, I invest. So I think either you're born with it or you're eventually you're taught. But you know, luckily we were it came naturally to us, you know.
So you said that your dad is a saver. Did he get to investing? Is that where you got the investing from, or was it more something that maybe you learned from your older brother as he started doing his thing?
No, so my dad actually did it when he was younger too. So he came here in the 70s and he started working at a restaurant in LA. And he slowly started investing in real estate, and he probably invested maybe for like 10 years, and he finally had like not even 10 years because he got here on maybe like 6-7 years. Anyway, so he ended up coming here. He saved some money, bought a few properties over in LA, and then it was enough for him to retire, but retire in Mexico. So he had my 2 oldest brothers. We moved to Mexico. He sold the property, and he ended up started building tract homes over in Mexico.
Okay.
And he ended up building those tract homes in Mexico, and then my sister was born over there in Guadalajara.
When you say tract homes, is that like trailers?
No, so over there they're made out of brick, and he just started building like little 1-bedrooms or 2-bedroom houses.
Okay, because you were
I'm
saying
sorry. So what he has reference over there in the East Coast, like Track homes, say track homes for like brand new homes.
Oh, I see. No, I hadn't heard that before. Okay,
Okay,
so he built them from bottom up.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So he built that. He started getting a little cash flow, and like I said, it was just enough for Mexico, you know. And from there, long story short, my brother ended up having epilepsy and a few other problems. My oldest brother, so we were going back and forth with the doctors and stuff like that, and the doctors recommended, hey, if he's American, you guys should go back and get the proper treatment. So that's how we came back here to the U.S., and that's how I was born over here, or else I would have been born in Mexico and lived out there.
I see. So your dad came here in the 70s, then
Right.
got enough invested where he could retire back in Mexico. And then because of what happened with your brother, then you guys end up being back here.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
But
we came.
you were born here. So you've
Yeah. I got
lived
my
your life.
papers, everything.
Okay. No, I'm not questioning that. It's more, I didn't know if like you had lived a part of your life here and then a part there, that sort of thing.
No. But I grew up. My dad would always take us to Mexico twice a year, so I feel like I got a little bit of both. Both cultures very well. So I feel like I'm 60% Mexican, 40% American. Because I grew up out here, skating, biking, doing all that stuff as a kid. But I would go out there very often over there. We'll spend like maybe 3 months out of the year out in Mexico. So.
Oh yeah, I remember those. We growing up, we'd go for like a month, like during whatever school break to DR,
Right.
and come back. But we didn't do it that often. Maybe every couple of years or something like that.
Right. Yeah, we just had the luxury that my dad actually worked out there and worked here, so it was kind of a necessity. We had to go visit the family, and then he had to take care of whatever he needed to take care of over there too.
Oh, he had a business back in Mexico.
Well, he still had those properties in Mexico. He never
Right.
sold them. He was just he would build here and there, and then his business was pretty much driven by if the U.S. is doing good, then he was doing good, because he will build these houses and then he will sell it to Mexican Americans that had equity in their homes, that would refinance, get cash out, and then they would buy their house in Mexico or their land on Mexico. So that's the kind of transaction he was doing.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, that's good. So he kind of had his little market that he kind of catered his houses to.
Yeah. It was a small little pueblo, but like I said, it was just enough for him to just to make ends meet,
Yeah. So, how do you end up, like, I think you mentioned now that what was it that you mentioned that you were doing? You have your real estate that's like a side thing, right? Where you're investing, but you also have your regular job as well, right?
Right. So right now I'm a Blackjack dealer over here in Southern California, and I've been doing that since I was 21. So I'm 34, 13 years and counting. So pretty much how I got involved with that was just I was working at a warehouse. Well, first of all, I graduated from high school. I took the college route maybe for about, probably less than a year. And it just wasn't for me. It was always a struggle for me to study. If I was interested in the topic, I'm just like, it's a struggle, So I did that for a few months. I got out. I played at a warehouse. I was working there for 2 years. And then, but there was always something that was just kind of like I said, I think you're born with like either you're an entrepreneur, you're a saver and all that stuff, right? So I would just sleep at night and always I would just stay up at night just thinking about it, like, damn, like what do I need to do to get out of this job? Or like, why did I have to work on an hourly basis, And I was just thinking about like hotels, apartments, all that stuff, and wondering how you get those loans. And long story short, my brother ends up being a Blackjack dealer, which is my second, Hernani, the second oldest. And he told me he's making decent money. And I was like, all right, well, let me just go to school for this. And then that way I can start saving some money. And I knew that I needed to establish my credit and I had a decent job to start buying real estate. and this is like in 2007, right? So I just focused on doing that and increasing my income, and then I knew that slowly I was just going to start investing in real estate. So it was more, I was very open-minded. You know, I could have been a plumber, electrician. It could have been anything, you know. The whole point was that I was just looking for a better income, and so I can save and invest. That was always my mindset, you know.
How did your parents react to you wanting to get out of school? Did they care, or because I
No, you
know,
know,
like
no, go
my
ahead.
parents, for example, they're very like, college. You got to go to college, got to get your degree, and I feel like a lot of Hispanics are like that. Parents that are like uh, not necessarily first generation, but like have migrated here.
Right, right. Yeah, you know, it's funny because my parents just, like I said, they weren't really involved. They were kind of just pretty much you're on your own, you know. That's how it felt like. So if I dropped out of college, it was like, all right, well, whatever, you just got to make it work, you know. So
As long as you can pay your bills, I guess.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But but yeah, so I ended up doing that. But yeah, they didn't really care. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
they didn't give them a call. Nah.
For that blackjack, you had to go to school for that, or is it like a certification that you need to get, or?
Yeah, so you just go to school. It's pretty much just you know, I didn't have a clue what blackjack was or anything. I mean, I knew what the game was. I just knew
I
that
don't
it
have
was
a clue what blackjack is. I mean, I think it's like
really.
21, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
right. I think I played it like
So,
once or twice, but that's about it.
okay. Yeah, I didn't have an idea. You know, I just knew that it was making decent money. You go into school and it's more of just learning the games, and then it's more of mechanics, knowing how, you know, how to pay out, how to deal the cards, stuff like that. You know, it takes like 3 months, but
Mhm.
I knew that it was going to be a decent income. So over here in Southern California, like an average blackjack dealer will make anywhere from 40 to maybe like 120 a year.
That's a big spread.
Yeah, it is a big spread. So it varies by location.
Oh,
So
okay.
since you work for tips, you know, if you work for the right casino, you get people that, you know, will make decent amount of money. So, you know, they tip more, obviously. And then if you work in a casino where, you know, the medium income is really low, you're pretty much struggling, you know.
Does experience come into play at all when it comes to like, is it mainly tips, or like if you're getting a job, they see that you've been in the game for like 5, 6 years, and they'll give you like, do you get a base as well, or
No,
no?
no, no. So it's everything minimum wage, and it's really just dependent on the casino that you want to work for.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's just minimum wage, and if you work for a casino that is desirable, then they start asking for experience. But in reality, it's all really who you know. And um, as long as you get like your first year in, and if you got the right people, I mean, you can go from making 40 to 120 the
Mhm.
next year, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So but but yeah, so that's how I pretty much started. I knew that I started from the bottom too, so I started working in Coachella, and making about 40,000 a year, and then I slowly moved out here to the San Bernardino County, and started to make a little more. But I'm already in that stage where um, you know, I invested in real estate, and I've already exhausted my what they can lend me. You know, it's getting more and more of a struggle. So I either need to go commercial or um, you know, I need to start maybe a business or something where my revenue, my income starts increasing,
Mm.
so
Can
I
you
can continue to invest.
can you walk us through like what that means, that you've reached your limit, and how that kind of played out?
Right. So I have this lender that I worked for many years, and pretty much my debt to income ratio is like 49% once you start getting all the loans and everything included. And um, anytime want to get a loan, it's like 25% down. And I remember this last loan that I had was I bought a fourplex in San Bernardino, and I had a credit card for like $1,500, and in order for me to close this loan, I needed to pay off that credit card. So
Mm.
as of right now, that's how it feels. I'm gonna start venturing off, finding other lenders, but when it gets to that point, I mean, I definitely need to increase my income.
Do they take into account the income coming in from your properties or no?
Yeah, they do. So it varies by lender. That's what I'm noticing right now. So I'm calling, and I found other lenders that my debt to income wasn't as high. But I'm still struggling as far as the previous lender that I had. He was on point. He would see anything that was along the way, like any bumps along the way, and he would let me know ahead of time, fix this, fix that, fix that. And I'm with another lender right now, and we're already like 2 months in, and then he's seeing the bumps, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
This should have been mentioned. But then again, he looked like he seemed like we were able to close it, but we're still in the process. We'll see if we can still close it. But I'm just doing a bunch of refinances right now, and
Are you taking money out as well, or just lowering your?
Yeah, no, I'm right now just taking out money. I definitely want to sit on it. So I have a condo that's paid off over, and I wanted to take some money out and then just sit on it. I was gonna do a 1031 on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I figured, I was like, you know what, the everything's so sky high. I was like, let me just take some money out, sit on it, and find that right property, and then invest in it.
What I heard in a podcast, I think they called it a reverse 1031, where it's almost like you identify the property that you're going to buy first, get that under contract contingent on you selling the property that you're planning on selling.
Yeah.
Then you go ahead and you sell that off. And then, because that's the trick, right? When you do the 1031, you get like 45 days, I think, or something like that.
Right.
To be able to find the property that you're going to buy next. And if you don't, then, you're going to be liable for those taxes.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely what I've done before in the past. I've done a few 1031s, but sometimes what that is that I found is that sometimes when you find a deal, the agents want to take easy transaction. Why would they prolong a transaction that it's going to take maybe 3 months when they know they're going to sell this property regardless, and they can do this transaction within a month?
Okay, so they look at you as somebody it's gonna be a little bit more work.
Right. I don't know if I should probably say this, but I give them bait sometimes. So I tell them sometimes, just to get the deal, I don't know if maybe you should try this too, is I tell them like, hey man, I'm really interested in the property that you have. But here's the deal, it's going to be contingent to me selling the property, but you're going to be representing me in the property that you have listed, and you be my listing agent on the 1031. So you're going to handle the whole transaction. You're going to get your full commission over here, whatever commission you're going to get over here with my property, and it's a double dip. Are you interested? And usually they work with me.
No, that's a good strategy. I like that. To be honest, I haven't sold any properties or done any 1031s. What's that process like? Do you mind sharing, kind of like when it comes to the paperwork and things like that? Is it very difficult to get all that done, or no?
No, I use the First American, and they're very. If you use anybody, just use somebody that's been in the business for a while. They're very on point. Never had any issues. They're contacting you every step of the way. I guess the worst part about the whole thing is kind of like closing the deal. So it's like multiple steps to it. It's so easy just to be able to, hey, I want that property, and then I got the money in the bank and the whole transaction. But when you're like someone buying the other property and then they drop out and then just prolonging everything, it's just, that's the stressful part,
Yeah, for us, the property that we just purchased not too long ago, it was direct seller to buyer, so it was a private deal, and that was the first time that we had ever done something like that. And I'll tell you, I think that it's a little bit more scary at the beginning before you kind of actually go through the process, because after we went through it, like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, you get a good lawyer that can draft up the paperwork.
Right.
You're pretty much set at that point. But I was like my wife and I were just kind of like overthinking, well, what does this mean? You know, the realtor typically does a bunch of stuff, but it really
Right.
wasn't that complicated.
Yeah, it's gonna be always nervous the first time around. So you're
Yeah.
just overthinking everything, but in reality, the transactions it's already written. It's self-explanatory. But it's definitely nerve-wracking. It's kind of like buying your first house. It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you buy your first property for sure. We had been looking for something for about a year and some change before we found, where we're at now. But before then, there was a point where we had put in an offer. The lady had accepted the offer, and it was contingent on her finding another property and moving on. But
Mm.
even after the property got accepted, like it almost like hit me like, oh man, like we're about to move forward with this property, and I'm like getting nervous a little bit. I'm calling up people and like, yo, like this is what I did. What do you think? Like trying to like reassure myself about it.
Right, yeah.
But after, I mean, she ended up backing out because she couldn't find anything in her price range. So we lost that deal. But the second time around, once we found this one, it was like, all right, let's go. The numbers work. So it's almost like as you build that experience, it just becomes a little bit easier to pull that trigger,
Yeah, especially if the numbers work. If the numbers work, you already know you want the deal. It's just a matter of just figuring out how to close it.
Yeah. So why real estate for you? Why is that the vehicle that you've chosen to invest in? Or
You know, when I was 19, I read a book on stocks and I read a book on real estate. And like I said from the beginning, I knew that I wanted to invest, right? So I read those two books, and real estate just stuck. It just stuck. I like the passive income. I like the
is it
fact that
passive?
you can. Excuse me.
Is it passive?
Oh yeah, I know, right? It has its moments, but overall, it's pretty passive, I like it. Like I said, I like it because it's relatively passive, and you can leverage. To me, the main thing is leverage, the tax incentives, all that stuff. But leverage is the huge part. Just the fact that you can buy a $100,000 house with $5,000, and if it goes up 20%, I mean, you got 300% return.
Right. On that.
Yeah.
A lot of people get scared by real estate because they don't want to be that person. And you always hear that one line, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to have to go fix a toilet. I mean,
Right.
I've owned property for almost 3 years now. I've never had to do that. But I don't know. Why do you think that is? That people are just so afraid to get into like real estate, and they'd rather look at like stock market or something else like that?
I think a lot of people are afraid of real estate is because the people that get advice on real estate are people that are not in real estate. So if they're getting like, us Hispanos, a lot of them maybe are not in real estate. So they're telling you like, oh no, being a landlord sucks and this and that. But in reality, you're getting advice from someone that's never been a landlord.
Mm.
So you're going to have a negative thought of real estate, but in reality, if you speak to anybody that's been investing for real estate for 10 plus years or whatever it might be, or 5 years, whatever it is, and they want to grow their portfolio, it's going to be positive, and they're going to tell you it's worth it every step of the way.
I mean, it's definitely work, right? You gotta put in some work. You gotta meet the tenants. You gotta make sure that your rent stuff is on point, that things are getting fixed, stuff like
Right.
that. But to me, it's always like people that I've shared, like, that I own real estate and what I'm doing at work, etc. Like they always like, oh, you got to do all this work. And I'm like, I mean, you're doing a bunch of work right now for somebody else, for somebody else's business. Like, you really think that I'm going to be afraid to work on my business and like my investments? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't add up.
Yeah. But it goes back to what we were saying, though. It's just a different mindset. You know, you can't convince somebody, be like, hey, dude, you should invest your money when they want that luxury car in the front, you know, in the driveway, or they want that big house when in reality they should have bought a duplex first. You know, it's a completely different mindset, you know, because some of my coworkers approach me and ask me, you know, what do they need to do to buy real estate? And they don't realize that it takes a lot of sacrifice, you know. It takes a lot of years of saving money and then buying one property and then saving another 2 years to buy another one. And it's a slow process, but real estate is not get rich quick. You know, it takes time, it takes patience. And then you buy 1, 2, 3, 4. And before you know it, the first one already has equity. You do a cash out refinance and you buy your 5th one. And then 2 years down the road, maybe 2 of them already have equity. You do 2 cash out refinances and now you buy 4, you know, and it takes time, and a lot of people don't have the patience for it. It really just takes a lot of patience.
Yeah, because I mean, saving up that first down payment is the toughest.
Yeah,
for sure. For the second time around, it gets easier, and I think it just builds on that, right? Because now you have a little bit more income coming in from the rentals that's helping you put that money away much quicker.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. As long as you have that goal in mind, you just gotta have that big goal in front of you. That way you keep saving. That way it's something that it's not attainable within 2 years, you know. So it's constantly you working towards it, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure. You mentioned that you have kids and you're married, right?
Right.
So were you and your wife on the same page about real estate? Because I'll tell you, at least for me, it's not that we weren't on the same page, but my wife had never really considered real estate. And I'm like talking to her, and even as we're dating, like, listen, like, my plan is to save up X amount of money. We're going to buy this 3-family or 4-family, and I'm going to, et cetera, and continue. Like, she was freaked out at first, and like, oh, like, because the thing is that mentality for most Hispanics is not there, of like owning real estate or owning stuff that's generating money for you. So all that stuff scared her at the beginning. I mean, we ended up getting on the same page, but I'm curious to see like how your experience was there. Because I know you mentioned that you at 19, right? That's pretty early in life. You were like, I want to invest. Was she similar in that way or no?
No, she wasn't similar in that way, but she always supported me regardless, you know, whether we're on the same page or not. She understood that we were working towards a goal. So, but with her, it was a mentality of being scared. It was more of, it was just being supportive, you know, or like, all right, I trust you, you know, because I that's all I talk about sometimes, you know. So she knew that I was passionate about it, you know. So
yeah,
she knew that it wasn't gonna leave my head until I did it, you know. Right. So, but we're definitely on the same page now, and it's working out.
How old were you when you got your first property? So you said you had to save for a while, and you had to get, you got your dealers.
Right. It probably took me, you know, it was a slow transaction. So I was 24 years old when I bought my first property, and prior to that, I was a silver guy. Like, I would buy silver and gold.
Okay, precious metals.
So yeah, I would buy precious metals because I thought the whole economy was going to collapse. And the more in depth I got into it, the more I went back to just thinking, you know what, I need to sell all my silver and buy some real estate so I can leverage this money, and that's what I did.
Yeah, so Warren Buffett, I don't know if you've seen, there's a clip of him out there where it's like they basically present to him like the whole gold idea and investing in gold, and he kind of says like, if I have, let's say, $2 million worth of gold, sure, it's fine. I can look at it, maybe I can sit on it, and he's just kind of like, that's what you're gonna be able to do with it. I'd rather have $2 million worth of businesses where, let's say maybe I have like a farm or something, and now I'm generating produce and I'm engaging with people. And his whole thing was like, you get gold, you'll have the gold, it'll just be sitting there. Versus if you have a business, then now you're participating in the economy, right? And you're able to
Right.
make connections, etc., like that. So
Yeah.
I
I
thought
think
that,
it's
that was a
definitely.
pretty interesting.
No, he's completely right, and that's one of the reasons that I sold it. I was just like, man, I need to get out of this damn thing. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me now. I mean, now it's more of, to me, it's more of uh, if you want to me, it's a rich man's game. The reason I say that is because the fact that, I'm assuming we're trying to increase our income. We're trying to get some properties. And I think once you get to the point where you have excess cash, you want to just diversify everything, But when you're building the building stage, my building stage is going to be, real estate, some businesses. And then once I have that excess cash, you know what, let me just store some money in silver so maybe my kids will inherit it, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as of
Yeah.
right now, I'm building, like I was telling you earlier, I'm first generation Mexican American, and usually about 80% of all millionaires are born within the first generation. So I feel like I have this huge responsibility for my kids to have a better life. Maybe they don't take the investing route, but maybe they become lawyers, maybe they become doctors or whatever it might be. But I set the foundation where, college is now no longer, can we afford it? Yeah, you can, and you better get yourself, a good degree, and so just set the foundation, for my future seeds.
Would you like your kids to be more, have a more entrepreneurial mindset like you did and invest and getting things like that? Or would you like to see them more go to school and kind of pick a profession and go that route?
Um, my ideal will be for them just to be professionals and growing the portfolio. I think that'll be better for me. Well, whatever they decide, but I think that for me that's better because I think education it's always good. You can't go wrong with education, And my youngest son, not youngest, but oldest son, 7. He's 7 years old right now, and whenever we need to do a remodel, I take him with me. I just do the basics, take out the carpet, tile, just do the basics, take out the doors. And I take him with me and I tell him, hey, this is your property, Ralphie. His name is same as me. And I call him Ralphie, and I was like, this is your property. You got to make sure you take care of it. So, on the fourplex that I have, he helped me with 3 out of the 4. And I tell him, he helped me remodel it. And I told him, like, every single month someone's going to move in here. Someone's going to move in here and they're going to pay you. So each month on the 1st, I give them $4. So I was like, each unit equals $1. I was like, so remember that he's into Funko Pop toys right now. So I always tell him like, hey, well, a Funko Pop toy is $12. So that means you need to wait, 3 more months, save it, so you can buy that toy. So just give him stuff like that, just to get started and get an idea. And he already has that mentality already. I think it's already engraved in his head. So like the other day he was scratching like, the scratchers, those lotto scratchers.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, so what are you going to do with the money? And he's like, I'm going to invest it, Dad. I'm like, all right, good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you do your own work for your properties?
No, I just do the basic. I'm really bad with like handy stuff, man. I wasn't born with that gene. Like, I'm terrible. Like, I'm just like, I'm like really bad. I wish I was because I'll save myself a lot of money. Well, so I honestly I just do that just because I have my son and I want to take him with me. And like I said, it's more of the demo. That's what I do. I like to just take out the stuff that needs to be taken out, and then from there I just get the contractor and tell him what I want, and that's it.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I'm not handy at all, man. Like,
Yeah.
not at all. Like, you tell me to take out a door, I have to, YouTube it and try to figure it out. Like I just,
Yeah, exactly.
no instincts whatsoever on any of that stuff.
Yeah, man. There's some people. My youngest brother is actually very handy, you know, but he doesn't invest. So it's like it's one of those things.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
But it's almost good though. I would think that, you know, you're that way in the sense that, you know, maybe you're not very handy, because then that pushes you to make sure that you have a good deal so you can pay for that stuff. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, like, I never plan to do my own work. I make sure that the deal that I get has enough meat on the bone that I can get somebody in there that can do a good job, instead of like me like inventando, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, getting them in there, getting it done as quickly as possible, and then moving on. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes people let that hold them back. You know, I was talking to a gentleman once a few years ago, and you know, I'm like you. I'm always talking about real estate because it's so fascinating, and I think that so many people could benefit from that knowledge and actually investing. You know, there's so many possibilities here in the States for you to be able to get into something that will, man, like, benefit you in the long run so much. But I'm talking to him, right? And he's like, yeah, you know, if I were able to buy something, I'm going to take an electrician class, I'm going to take a plumbing class, and then I'm going to make sure that I know all this stuff so then I don't have to hire out anybody to do my work. And in my head, I'm just like, geez, man, congratulations. You just got yourself another job. I mean, do you consider that an investment at that point? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely good to know, so you don't get screwed. But,
yeah, like you said, just that way you don't get screwed.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you need to make that that decision. Are you going to be an investor, or are you going to be the landlord, or the hand? You know. Yeah. And I knew early on I wasn't handy, and I knew that I was an investor for sure.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that just thinks a way how to figure that thing out, you know. But yeah, yeah, I just wish I was born with that gene a little bit better, just because sometimes it'll be something real simple, but it's just like, you know, I just know that if I go there and it's going to say, you know, take me 2 hours and ends up taking me 4 hours, and I'm like, oh, shit, I have to come back tomorrow, you know, or something, you know.
Right. To get it done.
Yeah.
Maybe paying somebody and they'll get it done in like 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. And then the hardest part is finding someone that you trust, and then that does the work right. You know, you just tell them once and that's it, you know. I struggled with that for years, finding somebody, you know. I'll find someone that was cheap, but he was so unreliable, but he would do the work right, but, you know, just unreliable. And then just finding that medium where it's not overpriced, but, you know, you can trust them.
Yeah, man, I found a guy right now that I'm using for most of my stuff. This guy's amazing. Like, you know, he's reasonably priced. He does a good job, and shoot, man, any work that I get, I send him his way. You know, you got when you find good handymen and contractors, man, you got to treat them right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, let them know you appreciate them, because they're making your life a lot easier.
Yeah, and this guy, man, I mean, I think there was one that I called him at like, one of my tenants called me at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock saying that the lights went out because he had plugged in like a heater or something.
Okay.
And
the
breaker went off. But the thing is that it wasn't where it was expected. The breaker for I think it was like the room and the living room or something like that. So I ended up having to have my handyman go over there, track it down, figure it out, and then doing all that. You know, he charged me a few bucks, but if it wasn't for him, I would have had to leave my house at 9 o'clock to go try to figure that out. You know, and he's like, "Oh, no, I'll do it. Don't worry about it." I'm like, "Great."
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing about, like you said, there's two things you can leverage: is someone else's time and real estate.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I like it. My youngest brother always tells me, like, "Hey, well, why don't you fix it?" And I'm just like, because I'd rather spend time with my family. You know, if I had like maybe I was doing this full time or something, maybe I'll probably check it out. You know, I got some time to spare. But as long as I'm working and I got a family, I mean, if I could just send it off, I'm gonna send it off.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what was your first deal? What was it? Was it a duplex, triplex?
Yeah, so my first deal was actually a duplex. So, you know, one thing that I tell everybody that wants to invest in real estate, I always tell them that your first house is always going to be a starter home. So why don't you just make it a duplex, triplex, fourplex? It still goes into the, it's not commercial, you know? And I was like, get yourself a fourplex. You live there for free. Pretend like you're making that mortgage like you were on your own and collect the rent. And before you know it, within like a year or two, you should be able to buy another one, you know? And then you move out of that one and buy the other one at 5 or 10%. You know, it depends on where we are in the market, you know, and leverage it, you know. But yeah, my first deal, just going back to what you're saying, was a duplex, and I bought it for $82,000 in California. This is when everything tanked. Like,
Yeah.
this is yeah, it was just, and it took me 6 months to find a deal too, because I was competing with other investors, and these investors were buying them in cash.
Oh, yeah.
And I got lucky where this one, I bid on it, and it didn't go through. Someone else bought or made a cash offer on it, and then they backed out, and then I was the runner-up, and I ended up getting it. And I always mention this duplex too, because I always say that this duplex made me $400,000 or $500,000. I forgot the exact number on it. And this is how I always tell everybody: it's like, make sure that if you're gonna invest, make sure your first one's always a home run, or make sure, you know, it's just the right time. So I bought it for 82, and my mortgage on it at the time was like $600, like ridiculous cheap. And each one rented for at the time like $750 a pop. So I was making, let's say, $700 cash flow, or 500, whatever it might be. I was making $500 in cash flow, and then it appreciated. I took out $50,000 on it. I refinanced it, took out $50,000, and then ended up buying a duplex that was distressed duplex for $200,000. And those were under market rents and everything. I remodeled and everything, and then sold it for $320,000.
Oh, you sold that one?
Yeah, I sold that one from the same $50,000 that I did from the refinance. And then I bought that duplex, made like $120,000 on it, right? And then I used that equity to buy a fourplex that was also distressed, that had $100,000 in equity. So that simple investment that I made from the beginning has made me rental income and equity to the point where I've cashed out, refinanced it. I bought that duplex, bought a fourplex, and now that fourplex has $220,000 in equity and generating anywhere from like $2,000 a month once I get it stabilized.
Right.
So it's like a no-brainer. Like, how can you compete with real estate? You know, like.
And that's the newest one, the fourplex.
Yeah, that's the newest one right now. Yeah. Well, actually, I bought a mobile home in 55 community, but I don't really count that one, just because that one's just I just bought it just because the numbers made sense, but it was pre-COVID.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Man, from a duplex to another to the fourplex.
And I still own the duplex though, you know, so still generating income, and then I'm going to do another cash out refinance on it and then buy something else, you know? So it definitely, like I was telling you, anybody out there that's trying to invest, it just takes time. And, you know, nowadays with everything being on the internet, there's no excuses, to be honest. If you really want it, I mean, there's you can get it, man. And especially here in the U.S., you know, we were just talking earlier, you know, you're from the Dominican, I'm from Mexico, and we didn't get those opportunities there, you know. And I feel like it's our obligation, man. We really have to like really set the foundation for our kids and for us too, because I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, back in the U.S. in the 70s, it took like someone working at Walgreens to be able to buy a house, you know, and be able to raise a family. I mean, they were struggling, but they'll be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see multi-generations living in one house just to make ends meet. And that's the direction that we're headed. I mean, it's already written, you know. In the 80s, it took, maybe in the 90s, that's when two people, you know, two incomes needed just to make ends meet. And now we're getting to the point where it's the mom, dad, and the son or daughter that still live there, you know, just trying to make ends meet. And it's very important that I think we're one of the last generations that we'd be able to actually make an impact for the newer generation. Because for my son, if my son doesn't inherit anything, it'll be no different from, at least in Mexico, you know, let's say they make $20 a day, but a house costs 100,000. I mean, it's a rich man's game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we're headed. You know, the cost of construction here is ridiculous. We just printed like $5 trillion. I mean, it's just, it's going to be tough, man. So, you know, to me, it's very important for my kids to inherit.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that you make, because I myself have like a chip on my shoulder, because I understand the gift that I have for being able to live here. You know, my parents migrated here. I was like 9 years old when we got here, and I've had opportunities that, you know, cousins of mine that live in DR will never have.
Yeah, right.
People that, you know, I don't know how it is in Mexico, but in DR it's very tough to even land a job, and most people live on $200 a month. That's like the minimum wage over there, you know. And I just see it as, I was given this opportunity. Am I really gonna waste it where other people would kill to be able to be in the situation that I'm in, you know? And
Not kill, but people are dying on a daily basis just to be over here.
Exactly. Yeah, and the cool thing about real estate that you can't really do with stock is that you can generate jobs for other people. You know what I mean? Like my handyman, like I'm paying him for this job. Like that's a job that I generated with the investments that I've made. You know, and as you continue to grow, these investments will let you be able to bring opportunities to other people, even family, if you want to bring them in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think
that's the thing about real estate.
Yeah. I think in general, all around, like I think that the possibilities with real estate are endless if you take the time to really study it, you know, really become a student.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, anybody that's definitely thinking of investing in real estate in their first deal, I mean, I always say that it's always a good time to buy regardless, because, I mean, even if you say the market's high, real estate is a long-term investment. 10 years from now, guess what? You know, people that lost their houses in 2008, they waited 10 years. Guess what? They're even, or they have equity now, you know? Mm-hmm. So no matter what, you need a place to live. And if things get hard, rent a room.
Right.
You know, like, it's just, to me, it's just a no-brainer right now, especially now with the interest rates being like at 3%. I mean, that's just free money, man. Anybody that doesn't get that needs to realize that it's free money. It's just literally free money.
You know what's crazy? We refinanced at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And we're just about to finish refinancing that same property again to bring down the interest, because it went down so much. We went from like a 5 to a 4 to now to like a 2.9 something.
Yeah. It's just like...
But crazy. Each refi is saving me like $200-$300. Like, why wouldn't I do it? Yeah,
exactly. You know, lock in that rate for 30 years. I mean, we're guaranteed more inflation in the future. I guaranteed. Exactly. I think that what we printed in 2020 is equivalent to like the first 200 years in the U.S. You know, so like it's ridiculous, dude. It's just
I don't know what's gonna happen with that. By the way. What do you think?
We're going to get inflation. It's just going to be, I think the market's going out, it's going to be like back in 2001 when the .com and 9/11 happened. I think we're going to get a small little dip, but we're still, low on inventory. Interest rates are low. I heard Biden's gonna do a $15,000 tax credit for first-time home buyers, and all that thing is just fuel on the fire. And I think we're gonna hit like a small little dip, and then we're just gonna blow up. I think when the next, I don't know. I think we're gonna hit the peak by 2025 or something. 2025, 26. I don't know, somewhere on there.
So are you saying that you're going to wait on the sidelines for those 4 years for the time to be right to buy again?
Oh, no. I'm gonna be buying this year, hopefully, if I get my refis, and I'm gonna sit on them, but yeah, man. I mean, I just think that real estate is just a great vehicle for anybody. Even if you could just buy your house and an extra one, I mean, 20 years from now, I mean, it takes 50% of your income just to be able to own, leveraging other people's time, So like, you just imagine you're retired and you have one house that's paid off. I mean, that's huge. Mm-hmm. So start young and do it right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really like, if you're thinking about retirement, right? You buy a property now that generates, let's say, once it's completely paid off, let's say 50 to 60,000, right? Right. You buy that. You just sit on it for 30 years, and that's part of your retirement right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. You buy one or two more, that's like 150 something that's coming in. You can live off that if you want.
Oh yeah, easily. And like the way things are going, I mean, easily live off of that. Because we're slowly becoming a renter nation here in the U.S. So, and if 50% of your income is going to housing, I mean, you essentially, like I said, leverage someone else.
Yeah, man. I think that with this whole college stuff too, like the loans that are coming out, it's getting tougher and tougher for a lot of people to be able to afford a home to buy. Especially kids like coming out of school. But I think that people also tend to be dumb. Like they get into a bunch of stupid debt. Like they get cars, they get the credit card, and they got all this stuff. It's like, if you live below your means for like a good 3-4 years, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but if you know how to manage yourself, you could do it. And you'd be setting yourself up for a good amount of cash later on down the road. And you can little by little increase your what you spend, your burn rate, if you will. Right.
I think the problem with the new generation is the fact that I think social media kind of destroyed all that, because everybody, they only show the BMW in the driveway, the nice big house and everything like that, and they only show the good. And who's gonna flex on my $3,500 car, that's sitting on my right? No one's gonna say that, right? So like, look at Raf, he has a $3,500 car, but I mean, people think these luxuries is wealth, but it's just liabilities, And sure, maybe one day I'll buy a Mercedes or a BMW, but I know that it's not going to be off my wages. It's going to be made off of real estate, It's going to be passively. But it's tough,
and I think that at the end of the day, people, like, I don't think they put it together in their heads, like, that people can take out loans for all these things. So just because they have a nice car doesn't mean that they really have money. What happened was they put down a small down payment on the car, and then they're paying like $500-700 a month to own that car. Is that really where you want to be? I don't know.
Exactly. It doesn't even make sense. I have my cousin in Mexico. He's a dentist. And he was telling me, he's like, hey, man, ¿cómo lo hacen allá en los Estados Unidos? Como que todos tienen carros buenos. I was like, man, debes entender que acá todos están en deuda. Like forget about it. Si alguien en Mexico, si tienen like a new car, is, they earned it, or, whatever, whatever they do on the side. But here, I mean, an average Joe with minimum wage can get a car, like a nice car.
Yeah.
We're a nation with low interest rates, so it's anybody can get a nice car. That's nothing to flip.
Do they is the lending different in Mexico for like cars?
Yeah, Yeah, I'm not too familiar on it, but as far as I know, is you got to have a good job, good profession, and it requires more of a down payment and all that. And
Oh, so they're more strict, probably.
oh yeah, he's a dentist with his own practice, and he was thinking of buying a Volkswagen, and they're requiring a bunch of stuff.
Oh, they have to take out a loan for it.
Yeah, he was trying to get a loan on it.
Yeah.
But I know that that's for, a lot more stuff than they ask here. Over here, you don't need papers. Like, oh, you got a pulse? I got you. I got your card.
No worries.
Yeah.
Hey, there was something that you mentioned offline that I'm trying to remember that it was super impactful, where you were talking about like if you bought a piece of real estate, if you really think about it, and it appreciates, you're in, I forget how many years you mentioned, you'd be a millionaire, you'd have $1 million.
Oh, yeah. So one thing that I always tell everybody is just that we live in a consumer nation, and then our economy has to grow at 2 to 3% every year. They inflate everything. They inflate our dollar. So I always tell everybody that if you have $1 million worth of debt, not including your equity, just think about the debt that you have. $1 million, and properties go up 3%. And you manage that debt, you pay that debt, you're just making the payments because your tenants are paying that debt. You pay down your loans by 2%. So essentially $1 million worth of debt or real estate, however you want to say it, you're saving 50 grand a year. 50 grand times 10. And that's just average. That's just assuming it goes up 3% and you're paying down your debt. So within 10 years, that's $500,000 just by you owning $1 million worth of debt and managing it. I mean, I don't know about 401k that where you don't have to do anything, essentially, as far as clocking in, and gain 500,000 within 10 years.
When you phrase it like that, man, I had never thought about it like that, but that's very true, and it really showcases the power of real estate, and
power, leverage, and real estate. Yeah. It's just, so yeah, that's one of the reasons that I was just like, man, one of my goals is like maybe like $5 million worth of just real estate, and then and like I said, with that alone, I mean, I'm saving $250,000 a year if I can just get that in real estate.
And that's not even like what you're getting in cash flow either.
Exactly. That's not even including the cash flow. It's like
that's just the nature of our economy.
Exactly. We're a consumer nation, man. So it's a given. I mean, a property in the 70s, I mean, depending on where you're at, it definitely works here in California because everybody wants to move here. But I mean, if you would have bought something in Detroit, and it's probably worth less now. But obviously, you got to have the basics, jobs. The economy has to be moving,
Right. Hey, so before we wrap up here, do you mind sharing a horror story of your experience in owning real estate? Do you have any?
The worst one was when I first became a landlord, man. So, I'm naturally a nice guy, right? So this is what happened. So on the duplex that I had, I noticed that it was vacant, and there was this van. This is so stupid of me. So there was this van parked right in front of it, right? And the neighbor complained about it. And then I was like, oh, let me go check what's going on. Long story short, the guy was homeless, and he needed a place to live. He showed me his pay stubs from Social Security, and I made him move in the 2-bedroom, 1-bath. That was right there.
No way.
I swear. I was like, you know what? Let me help this guy out. And this guy, like I said, I saw him with his daughter, and I was like, let me just help him out. Well, this guy paid for 2 months, and after that, milked me for another 3 months.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man. And I was just like, man, this is the last time. But, I was a new landlord, and I was just thinking.
So you said to yourself,
You
You
know, I
said to
was just
yourself,
like,
this is the last time I'm picking up a homeless and get him into my apartment.
pretty much, man. I like thinking back, and I was just like, damn, I'm such an idiot. Like think that thought process where you're just like, oh yeah, this guy's homeless. I'm sure he can pay the rent. But it goes back to like, you know, my rent was my mortgage was like $600. The other side was paying $750. I was like, it wasn't even a thought process. It was just like, oh, you know, let me help him out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But like that was just dumb. Like,
So what you end up having to do to get him out? Did he end up leaving or?
oh no, man, I did the whole eviction process.
You had to evict?
Yeah, and this guy I was trying to serve him, and this guy pretty much, dude, it got worse too. So I was trying to serve him, and he was dodging the serve. So because when you serve them, they have like I don't know, like 14 days to respond. But if you mail it out, they got 30 days to respond. So he was trying to buy an extra 2 weeks, and I was trying to serve him, and I just couldn't, you know. And somehow his uncle was living in the garage with his wife, right? And then I told him like, hey man, where's your nephew? I need to serve him. And he's like, you know, he's my nephew. I ain't gonna tell you where he's at. And I was like, I'll give you an extra 2 weeks to live here if you tell me where he's at. And he's like, all right, he's at 550, so. I was like, all right, I got you. And then his uncle like pretty much just threw him under the bus within like 2 seconds. I'll give you an extra 2 weeks. Got you. Like that's it.
Dang, that's all it took.
And then I served him. He didn't show up, and that was it.
How do they know that you actually served the person?
How do they serve the person?
No. How does the court know that you actually served them? You know, versus just like leaving it at his door or something.
That's a good. I'm not sure exactly the process on that. Never really thought about it.
I mean, I've seen it in the movies. Like, there's guys that people that get hired to like serve people, but I'm always wondering, like, if you would have just like left it at whatever the apartment and said you served them, then how do they?
Right. You know, I remember this is my first eviction, but on the following ones, usually they have someone serve it, and it's like a process. Like, hey, they served it, they didn't respond. They try again, they didn't respond. We're gonna mail it out. So the first one was like I was trying to save some money, so I was doing a lot of the footwork. So technically, it was probably wrong what I was trying to do because I got my brother to do it, and you're right. Like, how would they know whether it was served by so and so, right? So, yeah, it was, because when you do an eviction, everything has to be on point, or else it starts all over. At least over here in California.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't even a right eviction.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get that resolved. I haven't had to evict anyone yet, but I definitely have some tenants that require a lot more time than others.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
It's some are very easygoing, and some are just like, man, it's just I don't know if it's the property or it's them. But hold on, let me get a charger real quick. Do you have a charger? Sorry, man. My phone's about to die. So what was I saying?
That we were talking about tenants, and some are good, some are not.
Oh yeah. So some are good, some are bad, and sometimes I wonder whether it's the property or it's them, But if they pay on time, I try to help them out as much as I can, But some of these tenants, man, they ask for an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
How's it over there?
What was that?
How's it over there?
It's good. It's similar. I think that you have to be careful. I've definitely, my due diligence is pretty intense. Like, I meet with them, my wife will meet with them, I'll do my background check, everything like that. I mean, I gauge people. I'm a pretty good judge of character.
Oh really? Yeah.
So we've had pretty good luck with the people that we've gotten in into the apartments thus far. I do have one tenant that was inherited that he's like he's one of the ones that pays me the least in rent and the one that demands the most, you know? It's that tenant.
Yeah. Why don't you just increase the rent? Or is he due for a lease or no?
Now, I think they're month to month right now.
Oh, okay.
And to be honest, it's almost like it took me like 7, 8 months to get him to pay on time, and he's been paying on time
Yeah.
ever since. So it's just kind of like, do I want to go through the hassle of like raising the rent and having to deal with him on that? Because I mean, I could probably just get like maybe $100 more in rent from his apartment, but it's just kind of like it's not worth the hassle for us at this time. But because they've changed a lot, him and his wife. It's been a lot of like retraining.
Oh, really?
So it's not too bad now. It was definitely bad at the beginning. I don't know. I think there's some people that you can speak with them, explain something, and it's like you said nothing. You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
We had this conversation. Like, what's going on? Cool, man. Well, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time. Before we close, do you have any words of wisdom, just in general, for anybody looking to get started on real estate or just overall, maybe how they should even start thinking about investing?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me in the first of all. And, as far as investing, I think the main thing that when it comes to investing, just be patient and learn your market. So whatever market you're in, learn it and know it inside and out before you invest. Another thing too, if your market's too expensive, there's other ways to do it. I'm sure if your market's expensive, they're within a 2-hour distance, there's something there and you can invest and it can still be passive. Just don't give up and just remember that it takes time, patience, and save, because in the beginning, the first 10 years are going to be rough, but slowly, surely, if you're consistent, it's all going to work out. And the way things are going with the economy and everything, anybody with assets are going to come out ahead. Anybody that does just hold liabilities or just doesn't hold any hard assets are going to left behind. And we're in transition right now where I believe that, if you're stuck to those old ways of not investing and just depending on the job, where you're going to left behind. And it's vital nowadays to invest and be constantly learning, main thing.
Awesome, man. Well, those are very good words of wisdom. I mean, I think a lot of people have seen what you just talked about during this time, in the past year. Many
Right.
people lost their jobs and that was their only source of income.
Exactly.
So definitely it's worthwhile considering investing in your future for sure. Again, man, thanks so much for taking the time and hopefully we can do this again.
Oh, for sure, Manny. Let me know whenever you need me and then we'll go from there.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
All right, man. Thanks.